Hey, let's do it. It looks like it's recording. It looks like people are watching. So
Great.
good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to episode 24 of Might Help, Can't Hurt, Conversations with Leaders, Doers, and Friends. And what really started life as an excuse for me to catch up with people I haven't talked to for a long time has become an actual show. But today I get to talk to someone I haven't talked to for a long time. So Susie, welcome.
Thank you, Michael. It's great to catch up with you.
Now, the most important possibly question, the one that kept me up last night, Ibiza?
Well, I mean, Ibiza is what the locals say.
Right.
But
Ibiza.
there are many interpretations.
Yes. Okay. Now, I was trying to trace our history, and the bit of my personal legend, which is a very grand way of saying the last thing I remember, but of you and I, the where you show up in my stories, was when I had made the decision, literally on a Friday, made the decision to write my first book. You called on the Saturday, kind of out of the blue. We hadn't talked for a little while, and said, "Hey, I've been thinking about you. It's crazy. More people don't know about your work. Have you thought of writing a book?" And I've always gone, well, damn. You know, sometimes the universe seems to kind of step in there and go, ah. So thank you for that. Thank you for, confirming the universe's desire for me to write. But you've done one or two other things in your life besides playing that pivotal role in mine.
I seem to make a habit of that, of kind of knowing what's going on in other people's lives before they do. It's kind of handy.
It is kind of handy.
Handy thing.
Now that, when I first knew you, you had come from PR. So you were just, if I'm remembering it right, you were just kind of moving on from PR out into the world. We worked together with Paul McKenna and on those the wild days of the NLP training.
God, I have such good memories of those.
Yeah, no,
mainly what I remember is eating a lot and laughing a lot. That's what I remember from those days.
I honestly, I remember running into one of the other trainers in the elevator in the morning. They always put me on the morning because I was the only one who was awake.
We knew you would show up. We weren't sure about the others.
But I do remember running into one of the other trainers in the elevator one morning, and I felt like death. He looked like death. And we both said, yeah, the hardest part of these trainings is going out for dinner. Because they were amazing dinners, but they went on all
dinners. Amazing. And I remember Paul McKenna being, leading the charge at the table, and there was no getting out early. You couldn't. You know what? I'm on stage. I'm doing my thing early tomorrow. There's none of that. He wouldn't have it.
Well, and often it was just because it was really interesting too.
Yeah, amazing conversations.
Who was it? Did you ever meet Ron Rudin?
Yeah.
So I remember having a conversation with Ron Rudin, and he was explaining the biochemistry of why the understanding that I teach in my work causes people to have these sort of deeper experiences. And it was fascinating, but it was like 3 a.m. and I was on at 8. And I was like, it was tiring because I was like, this is the coolest conversation I've ever had. And I can't cope.
Well, there was this wonderful thing where, we got great thinkers and great minds together around the dinner table often. And just the conversations, I remember many times we'd say, if only we could record this conversation. So many people would love to listen into what we were talking about. And often it sounded completely crazy. We'd be in these fabulous restaurants in London.
Paul's just shown up in the comments saying that we're both lightweights. So that's the other explanation, I suppose.
It was actually always his fault. He was the one leading us to the next item on the wine list every time. But these were great days. These were great days.
It was, that party game where you go, okay, if you could have a dinner party and invite any 8 people, and they'd be there. It was very cool. Now, again, that was then. It's been a very long time. I've been sort of stalking you on social media over the years, and awkward transition number 1. You had cancer, and
I did.
Quite badly.
I was the last person I thought would ever get it. I was Miss Healthy, you know, meditating regularly, working out, keep being fit, eating really healthy lifestyle, going to bed at not staying up till 3 a.m. And I was the one who got it. I was like, oh, no. It came left field. I didn't expect it.
Well, it doesn't seem to have anything to do with that. Like I know as you get older, you know a number of people who've had cancer. At least half of them I would put on the healthiest people I know column. So it doesn't seem to be about eating right, living right, in working that way. But what did you discover? You know, because you had to pretty much face death, from what I understood.
Yeah, and I actually died for a few minutes. I left my body, which was an interesting experience and a very highly charged spiritual journey up there that I will never forget.
Do you mind talking about that? Because we've had Anita Morjani on, who obviously famously died.
Yeah.
And she shared her experience. What was the experience?
Yeah, I was in my hospital room in Ibiza, and I remember my intuition became really sharp because I was actually writing a book about intuition at the time. And as you know, what you think about and focus on, you get more of. So the more I was writing about intuition, the stronger it became. And I had this real flash, this real sense that I was going to die that day. And I remember going out to the nurses' station just outside my room and said to them, could you keep an eye on me today? Because I think I'm going to die today. And they just laughed at me and went, Susie, we know you're crazy, but this is a bit, you're not going to die. I said, well, I think I am. And I went back to my bed and I sat there and I did a bit of meditation. And I just felt my spirit collect itself very strongly. And I felt it whoosh, a bit like the genie in the lamp. And I kind of went through and up and out. And I felt my spirit leaving my body. And I was above my body looking down, this most surreal thing. But I have the memory of it. And I remember I was taken on a tour of the universe by this life force. And I was shown how it all works. And the fact it's all an energy-based universe, which we kind of know theoretically, but I saw it. And I began to understand at a much deeper level how this crazy magical world works, and this has really informed my life since then. And I have a different operating software, different operating system, and see the world completely differently after that. And I was asked, would I like to return to my body? Yes, I would. You know, I'm a mum. I had a young teenager.
Now, do you have any who was asking?
Well, the voice.
I knew it was a disembodied voice.
And so I had a choice, do you want to come back? And I go, yeah, I do. So I came back with a flash of white light, it was very white bright, and returned in. But when I returned into my body, something extraordinary happened. And that was, I was reconfigured to heal in the most extraordinary, miraculous, actually a miracle style healing. So I came back in and I knew, bam, I'm healed.
And now how, for you, has life looked different since then?
Completely different. The first thing that happened was I lost all fear. I can't find fear now, which is a great way to live life.
It's here with me in Hollywood.
There's a lot of people.
If you've lost loathing, that's here too.
There's a lot of people carrying that mantle for me. But that's what happened, is I realized that there is nothing to fear, actually. That we are in a safe place, even though it doesn't feel that way. That's how I feel about life, is that everything's going to unfold in ways that I have no idea how it's going to work. But I know, I've just learned to trust, and that's changed my life.
That's kind of, I mean, it sounds daft to say that's kind of cool, but that's kind of
cool. It is cool. Oh, you know what? Then I'll always have two parts to my life, the part before and the part after. Because it's like I'm a different human being now. You know, I see things differently. I see the world differently. And my relationship with myself and the world is completely different. And I think a lot of people who've been through near-death or death experiences have this sort of sense that things are very different. I certainly have that. And the other thing that happened was I became highly creative. In hospital, after this happened, I was saying, right, can you bring me in a laptop? Oh, and you need big pieces of paper and a lot of blue tack and a lot of crayons, because I'm writing a movie. I called a press conference. I wrote a movie script. I wrote a book. You know, I was just bam, 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 bam. I had no filters and no sense of time, no sense of constraints, like what's possible, what's not possible. For me, everything was possible. And I started planning shooting a film, and I was telling everyone was sort of, and I had someone working with me at the time, and they had to send a ton of emails, hundreds of emails after I told everyone, you know, you need to show up for this. This is what we're doing, and it's going to be very exciting. And I gather and get everyone together, and I was so convincing that people believed me, and I believed it. So what happened was this sort of incredible stream of creativity that came in.
So like a bunch of people showed up for a film shoot, but there was no film shoot? Or what?
Like, where's the press conference? So, but unfortunately, I had someone, you know, my team who there was no press conference today. We won't be shooting a movie. So if you hear from Susie, like, to show up, just don't worry. Please don't come.
It's like the fire festival, but without the con.
It was crazy, but very fun. Apparently, I watched a movie of myself only a couple of days ago. So I did a press interview, and they asked for some pictures and materials. So I actually went through the materials, and I saw this movie of myself. I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, okay, amazing behavior.
So what was there a bumpy reintegration, or is it just a before and after pic?
Wow.
Like, in other words, did you go to the top of the mountain and then come back down, or did you just go from one reality to another?
I guess a mixture. I mean, I kind of integrated back. I was staying with my family for 6 months after when I was recovering, and that was tricky because I was in, you know, someone else's home. I was having to sort of play different rules. I'd come from my life in Ibiza, which was very different, you know, very hot weather, music, vibrant, to, you know, a little small village in England. So that was a hard transition, but it was wonderful being around my family. I really understood the importance of family and friendships, and I had a great community of people who really leaned in when I got ill, and they just helped me in every level. And it made me realize that in this current point in society, we're not very good at creating really strong communities. I was living in city for years. It's not the place where communities are built. And I began to,
because it is the place where you have the most people. But yeah,
it's weird. I mean, the more people, the less kind of real connection. And I found that I suddenly became connected and really bonded to people and willing to take their help. I'd always been someone who wanted to do everything myself, but now I was in a position where I had to accept help, and that felt really good to me and to the people I was accepting from.
Yeah. And so this burst of creativity, was that in your mind what led to you writing a book about creativity, or was that book already in the works?
I got commissioned for this book 2 or 3 weeks before I got ill. So I know that my publisher thought, this book is never going to get written. I remember calling her up and went, I've got something to share with you. This has happened in my life.
Do you have a death clause in the contract?
And I know what she thought. She thought, this book is never going to see the light of day. It's never going to be written. But I assured her in my manic style that I was on it. You know, I said, I'm so on it. I'm enjoying writing right now, and I'm going to do this book. She went, okay, great. As everyone around me was sort of there, you know, I saw a lot of eyes being rolled around me, not from my publisher at this point. She was very supportive, but a lot of people couldn't believe what I was saying, which was, I'm going to get better. I'm going to really, you know, I'm going to write a new book. I'm writing this other screenplay and all sorts of things. And they just thought, she's living in cloud cookie land. And maybe I was, but actually I pulled it off.
Yeah. So it turns out that's not as big going insane and dying isn't as big a problem as you'd think.
It's quite good. And also it's given me a great story and also a great experience. You know, my experience is I healed myself. I used a lot of different techniques. You know, I've hung out with Paul McKenna and you for years, learning from neuro-linguistic programming, a lot of techniques. And boy, I pulled out every tool I had in my toolbox from all the things I'd studied. And I'd studied ancient wisdom, neuro-linguistic programming, theta healing, a lot of coaching techniques, Reiki. I was hypnotized daily. I had my own hypnotist who was doing Skype in the hospital. And the doctors would come in and go, right, okay, time for your injections and time for your chemotherapy. And I go, shh. And they go, what are you doing? I said, I'm getting hypnotized, be quiet. So they would like go, oh, and obviously, you know, I became this legendary woman in 3C who was the one who was always getting hypnotized. But it worked. You know, my cells were instructed to produce what they needed to produce for me to get better. I took a lot of CBD oil, I visualized, I prayed, I meditated, and I thought really good thoughts. And I imagined what I'd feel like when I felt better. I imagined going home. I imagined going to Ibiza. I imagined sitting on the beach with my friends. And I do this now. And I reflect back to that time when I was in my hospital room where I was given 6 weeks to live. The doctor said to me, don't dilly-dally about getting your family here. They need to come immediately. Yeah. And I said, sure, I'll get them out in the next few days. They said, no, immediately. You know, 6 weeks if you're lucky. So it didn't look good, but I didn't believe them. That was a good thing. I learned not to believe other people's limiting belief systems. I learned to believe my own belief systems, which were, to some people, look crazy, but to me had infinite potential. And I've seen, sitting in seminars with you guys, people who had no training on music suddenly be able to, you know, produce the most amazing songs, sing like a queen, all this sort of, sing like an angel. I've seen extraordinary things in my training.
They're great at running countries and being titular monarchs, but they're terrible singers. I mean, well, not the
yeah, exactly. No, like an angel. But you know, I had dismantled my restrictive belief systems and opened up the possibility that, and I'd read a lot of books about you know, the infinite power of the mind to heal. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to put that to the test here, and I'm going to do it. And me and my son, we both believed I would get better. No one else did, but I did. I did get better.
How is Will?
He's great. He's really great.
I was trying to remember the name of the show. So my last contact, he must have been like 8 years old.
Yeah.
And he, there was some show like Will Danger or Ben Danger. Ben 10.
Ben 10, that's it. Because we got you to get these crazy Ben 10 characters from LA and bring them back, because that was like the most exciting thing he could imagine in his life.
Yeah. My guess is he's older than that now.
Yeah, I don't know where they are, those Ben 10 figures.
Is he living in Ibiza? Is he? I mean, he must be in his 20s now.
Yeah, he's 20, and he had, like me, absolute faith that I would get better. He's picked up the gene of imagining the improbable and the impossible, and together we were like this unit who were absolutely 100% focused on this is going to work. And he said, I'm going to get my mum back. I know I am. And he said, when we came out, he said, we won 2019, Mum, we won. I said, I know we did. And he's now at university in Amsterdam. He's he's back in Ibiza, however, at the moment because of the quarantine. Yeah. But he's great.
Cool.
And we got through it together, and we're stronger and more expansive than we ever were after this crazy,
I mean, I
journey.
It's hard. I know, you know, when Nina and I have gone through stuff, it does, you know, if it doesn't break, that old thing, you know, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Even if it does kill you, in your case, it can make you stronger, which is kind of...
Yeah, it made me stronger, and it made me a deeper person, a nicer person, because I realized the importance of kindness and compassion and gratitude and love. We talk about that a lot in spiritual circles and in spiritual books. We hear it all the time, but I didn't really know what that meant. When I was facing death, I thought to myself, I had to ask myself the big questions. Have I lived my life as a good person? Have I done the best I can? Have I been nice to people? I may not see that person again. What was the last thing I said to them? So it made me ask really good questions. And when I did the audit on myself, I came out all right. But now I live life like every day is precious. I show up, I'm very present with whoever I'm talking to. I'm not worrying about yesterday, and I'm not thinking about tomorrow too much. I know I do vision about things, but I show up as present. And that is a gift in itself, because there is, again, this is something we're told, but I began to really understand, there is only now. And if you can get through today, it doesn't matter what anxiety is going on or fears and stuff out there in the world. I think if we think about going through step by step, life becomes more manageable, because life can be quite overwhelming for many people, you know, and we've really been tested this year.
Yeah, so how has it translated into this year? Because you guys may have won 2019, but I think we're all losing 2020 up to a certain point. So what?
Well, I don't know about that. I'd argue about that. I think what we're going through is intensely painful process for many people. And like we said before, when the muck hits the fan and we're in trouble, that's when we really grow. And I think what's happening, a lot of people are waking up to the bigger issues. In the consciousness on the planet seems to be rising. How this is going to translate, we don't know. None of us know yet. But what it is for sure is that people are beginning to wake up, thinking about where does food come from, thinking about does it make sense to have country boundaries, and the whole thing of race and all of these kind of topics are coming center stage. So I think what it's done is rattled the cage strong enough. The financial systems, the medical systems, the pharmaceutical systems, it's made us really have a good look at it all. And there's a lot of, particularly in Ibiza, there's a lot of change makers creating really interesting new paradigms about possible ways for us to live, which are very different than the way we've lived before. And clearly the way we were living before is not sustainable on any level.
I often ask variations on this question, but if you were not queen, because queens can't sing, but empress, if you were empress of the universe, what, you know, are there particular changes that you would make to just make it a more functional planet?
Yeah, there are many. And I'm working with some really interesting change makers at the moment. For example, they're looking at different money systems which circumvent the big banks and the Federal Reserve system, and the old paradigm of money systems. I think we need a new money system, a new food system, so that we're producing better food, better quality food, and not eating stuff that's been sprayed, and simple things like this that we'd all say yes to. But it's difficult to navigate through these structures that have existed for so long. Education is a great example. I mean, education, we're teaching kids, we're not even teaching kids how to grow food or how to be compassionate and kind to each other. We're teaching them facts that they can just Google in 2 seconds. That, for me, the education system is so archaic and outdated, we need to revamp that. So I think on the answer to your question, every level, I think needs a radical overhaul.
Yeah. So what is it that makes somebody a change maker? I love the phrase. I mean, the obvious answer was they make change, Michael. But in your mind, like, what distinguishes somebody? Because you've been around.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to give context. You've been around a number of people who have recognizable names. You know, people would go, "Oh my God, you knew that." But they're not all change makers.
No, they're not. And I worked with a lot of celebrities and had a celebrity PR agency and was connected with a lot of very famous people, some of the most famous people on the planet. And working with them, I realized, I thought, wow, they've got everything. They've reached the top of their game in film or music or whatever it was, but they're not happy. So what is it that's happened? It's not the money and the flash cars and the fame and singing to, you know, tens of thousands of people. It's not that makes you happy. So I began to wonder, what is it? And there seems to be a commonality now, I'm realizing, with the genius types that I've been hanging out with. There are some commonalities of people now who I'm working with and spending time with, who can really vision a different kind of living and a different kind of world that is infinitely more fantastic than the one we had pre all of this. And these characters have got, for a start, they've got vision. They think of things very much outside of the books, and they're not just tweaking old models a little bit and revamping them. Oh yeah, we'll put a new version of that out. No, they're talking about dismantling the old and creating the new. The book Buckminster Fuller idea is that, you know, about the fact that we have to construct new ways. There's no point in going on and banging on about what doesn't work. So what is your solutions? You know, this is about creating really good solutions on a big scale. So I think the people who are change makers are ones who can vision, who can see and pinpoint what's going wrong, but not focus on the negativity of what's going wrong, rather focusing on the positivity of what can we create that is much better. We are clever human beings. We are brilliantly smart. So surely we can come up with really good ways about how we educate our kids, how we finance and organize financial structures. I've been talking to some guys who are creating a new form of currency, and it's based around a lot of farming. It's seed culture, contra, where you're supporting each other and your community. And there's some really interesting concepts coming up about how we use technology and our mental technology for good. And these people are particular characters who think very, very broadly and aren't afraid to come up with crazy new ideas. That's one of the things I noticed when I was crazy and out of my head, as it were, was that I came up with brilliant ideas all the time. I was like, bam, bam, bam. And most people are like, woof, that's a good idea, but how would you ever do it? Well, let's try. You know, that's why we're here, to make a difference in the world.
Well, I love that phrase that you mentioned with when you were talking about you and Will about imagining the improbable.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just a willingness to imagine the improbable and not dismiss it out of hand because you don't know how it's going to work. I mean, I remember once, and I don't remember if you were at this dinner, but having dinner with Paul and some friends and having some idea about a TV show. And in my mind, we were just shooting the shit. We were just having fun and laughing and talking. And the next day I went into the office and it was a meeting, and I asked, I guess probably Kate, like, what's going on? And I said, oh, they're having a meeting about that show. I was like, whoa, wait. You can,
and you just reminded me that what happened a lot of times in those dinners was really huge ideas were talked about, and the difference was that we would all move on those ideas the next day. We would actually decide this is not just about having fun conversations. This is about, okay, now we spoke about that idea yesterday. Let's see how we can get that to move. And we did that many, many, many times. Like so many times, I can't even remember all the things we did. But it seemed to me that, and that was one reason I know that Paul really liked working with me, because when we came up with an idea, I'd be rattling the cage to get that to happen. Because it's not just, this is what, when I was writing my book on creativity, I interviewed a lot of people about where ideas come from. And a lot of people spoke about this idea that there are ideas floating around in the collective, ready to drop down, and we just have to grasp, put our hands up, grasp and bring it down. And it's those people who run with the ideas that become the ones who actually are change makers in the world. So we have to, when we get a good idea, if it feels good and you can connect the dots and you know some people, start doing that, because that way you become the innovator, you become the creative, you become the extraordinary. And really, you know, we're here for a very short time in this life, so we might as well make a really good job of it and be creators and innovators.
It's sort of following up, you know, imagining the improbable by doing shit. Like, that was my education. Like, that was where I learned, oh, having great ideas is super cool, but you're going to actually do stuff and create it, and sort of, you know, creating the impossible, which is one of the themes in my work. It came out of things like that, where these crazy ideas would get bounced, but instead of just going, oh, that was a fun night, it's suddenly coming out of the head and into the world. Let me go.
I just want to add one thing. This evening, I'm going to a collective of the big thinkers who are here on the island, and it's an incubator club. So we sit around coming up with all sorts of crazy ideas. And it's a place to incubate and a place to make these things grow. And people will take them and pop them into working groups who then start researching and putting it together. And there's finance people there who've got the money to finance these projects. Once we have the innovation brains, it's putting together the brains, the money, and the action, and making sure that integrates and moves in a good direction. Then you've got creation, then you've got revolution, then you've got really smart ideas coming through.
So we just need brains, money, and action.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that's cool. And there are people, if you've only got two, there are people with the other one.
Well, that's the thing, is putting together teams, because often the brilliant minds don't have the multi-million budgets. But when you put those, and that's what's happening in Ibiza now, we're putting together these different components so that everyone's sitting in the same room getting excited about the same ideas, and we can move on it because we've got the ideas people, we've got the executors, the people who can actually activate it, and we've got the money people. So suddenly you're rolling. Before in the past, you were missing one of these links. If you're missing any one of those links, it won't work.
Yeah, that's very cool. That's very cool. So what was the biggest thing? And I'll use this as a sort of a transition towards the close of our conversation. What was the biggest thing that you saw for yourself in putting together the book on creativity?
What was the biggest thing I saw for myself? I saw that I found out that we are all creative. We all have this inner well bubbling up, but many people are stifled by the fact they think they can't move on it, they can't work it, they can't do it. Oh, many people said to me, I've always wanted to write a book. Well done, you've actually done it. Well, it is about moving on your ideas. You know, I do believe that we all have this incredible well of creativity, and it's about really finding out what is our thing that gives us joy and gives us passion, and do it, actually show up and do it. Creativity is something that heals. It gives you great energy. It energizes. It makes you feel good. And it gives you this attraction-based energy as well. People want that in their lives. They love it when you do your creative thing. So I think I'd say to people, embrace your inner creativity and your spark. And don't pretend it's not there, because it is. We all have it. If you're a human being, you have it.
Okay, so last question. If I was going to interview again in a year, what would you hope that I'd be asking you about?
I would like to be one of these change makers. I am a change maker already. By telling my story to people, I inspire people that you can heal even a great big brain tumor, and you're told you've got a few weeks to live. You can do it. You can overcome that. So I believe that's a really inspiring story. And I want to keep my life now is about inspiring people and helping people raise themselves up so that they can be the greatest version of themselves. So in a year's time, I'd love to be able to say to you, you know, I have helped change the world. You know, I've had some conversations and activated some teams of people to do some really good shit in the world and really create amazing things. That's what I would like to say to you. And I know I will. I mean, that's just not fresh air coming out my mouth. Those are real words and real intentions. So
I've been talking to my friend Susie Pearl, author of The Art of Creativity, 7 Powerful Habits to Unlock Your Full Potential. There's one she created earlier. We'll have links all around all the different forms. Susie, thank you. For those of you who made it, thank you. And I will talk to you all soon.